There's a moment when everything flips, and it's not loud or dramatic like people expect. It's quiet. It's when the need to explain disappears. All those long messages, all those attempts to clear your name, all that energy spent trying to prove you're not what someone said. You just stop. Not because the situation got fixed, but because something inside finally got tired of performing for people who already made up their mind. And that's the part nobody talks about. People get uncomfortable when the usual reactions don't come. No arguing, no defending, no chasing closure, just silence. And that silence, it hits harder than any comeback ever could, because now there's nothing left for them to twist or feed on. A lot of folks don't realize how much control they had over you until it's gone. Before, it was easy. Push a button, get a reaction. Say something slick, watch you scramble to explain. Throw shade, watch you lose sleep trying to fix it. That was the game. But when the reactions stop, the game breaks. And suddenly, they don't feel powerful anymore. Now they're confused. Now they're reaching, trying to figure out what changed. And here's the truth. Nothing about them changed. The only thing that changed is the access. They don't get the same version of you anymore. And that's what makes them panic. Even if they never admit it out loud. People love to act like they're unbothered. But watch closely when someone they used to control stops engaging. The energy shifts fast. First comes the jokes, then the subtle digs, then the fake concern. After that, it turns into frustration. Because when someone can't get a reaction, it forces them to sit with their own behavior. And most people hate that. They'd rather keep you busy defending yourself than look at what they've been doing. That's why silence makes people spiral. It removes the distraction. It forces everything into the open, without a single word being said. There's also this pressure that creeps in from the outside. Friends, coworkers, even family will start asking questions. Why aren't you saying anything? Don't you want to clear this up? It sounds innocent, but it's really just another way of pulling you back into the same cycle. Because people are uncomfortable with unresolved tension. They want everything tied up neatly so they can feel at ease again. But that's not your job. Not everything needs a response. Not every lie needs to be corrected. Sometimes the strongest move is letting things sit exactly how they are, even if it makes others uneasy. What really gets under people's skin is when calm replaces chaos. Not fake calm. Not pretending everything's fine, but real stillness. No sudden outbursts. No emotional reactions. No desperate attempts to fix things. Just moving forward like the noise doesn't control your direction anymore. That kind of energy is hard to deal with, especially for someone who was used to pulling strings. Because now they don't know what to expect. They can't predict your moves. And when someone loses that ability, they start second guessing everything, including themselves. There's a harsh truth in all of this that most people avoid. Some relationships were never built on respect in the first place. They were built on access, convenience, and control. As long as you played your role, everything felt normal. But the moment you step out of that role, everything starts falling apart. And it's not because you broke something. It's because the foundation was never solid. That realization can sting, because it means a lot of what you thought was real wasn't as genuine as it seemed. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. What makes it harder is the urge to go back to what's familiar. Even if it was toxic, at least it was predictable. You knew how the conversations would go, how the arguments would play out, how the apologies would sound. There's comfort in that, even when it's unhealthy. Stepping away from it means dealing with uncertainty, and most people don't like that. But staying in it just to avoid discomfort keeps you stuck in the same loop. Growth doesn't feel good at first. It feels awkward, lonely, and sometimes even, well, but that doesn't mean it is. There's also this thing that happens where people start projecting their own behavior onto you. Suddenly, you're the one who's acting different or being cold. It's easier for them to label you than to admit they lost control of the situation. They'll tell others a version of the story that makes them look better. And if you're not careful, that can pull you back in. The temptation to defend yourself comes back strong. But here's the reality. People who want to believe that version will believe it no matter what you say. Fighting for their understanding is a losing battle. Over time, something shifts inside. Not overnight, not in some big dramatic moment, but slowly. The need for validation fades. The need to be understood by everyone disappears. And in its place, there's a quieter kind of confidence. Not loud, not showy, just steady. You start making decisions based on what feels right, not on how it'll be received. That's when the real change happens. Not when others finally get it, but when it stops mattering whether they do or not. That's the part people don't expect, because it doesn't look like strength from the outside. It looks like indifference. And in the end, life keeps moving whether anyone gets closure or not. Situations resolve themselves in ways you couldn't have planned. People reveal themselves without being forced. And all that energy that used to go into reacting, explaining, and fixing starts going somewhere else. Into your work, your peace, your daily life. Nothing flashy, nothing dramatic, just a different kind of focus. Meanwhile, the ones who relied on chaos are still stuck, trying to recreate it, wondering why it's not working anymore. That's how the score settles, not with a final word, but with a quiet shift that changes everything without asking for permission. And here's the part that doesn't get said enough. Some of those people will try to come back around like nothing happened. No apology, no accountability, just a casual message or a random check. In like the past didn't exist. It's not because they suddenly grew or understood anything. It's because the silence bothered them more than they expected. They're testing the door to see if it's still unlocked. And this is where a lot of people slip. Not because they're weak, but because familiarity feels safe. But letting someone back in without any change just resets everything. Same pattern, same disrespect, just packaged a little differently. And if nothing inside has changed on their end, then nothing outside will change either, no matter how polite or calm the conversation sounds at first. Another thing people don't prepare for is how boring peace can feel in the beginning. When there's no drama, no constant tension, no need to watch your words or read between the lines. It almost feels like something is missing. That's what happens when you've been used to chaos for too long. The mind keeps waiting for the next problem, the next argument, the next moment where everything flips. And when it doesn't come, it feels strange. But that quiet isn't emptiness, it's stability. It's what life looks like when it's not being disrupted every 5 minutes. It takes time to adjust to that, to stop expecting something to go wrong. But once that adjustment happens, going back to the old way feels exhausting just thinking about it. At some point, it clicks that none of this needed a big reaction or a dramatic ending. No final speech, no perfect explanation, no moment where everyone suddenly understands your side. Things ended the way they ended, because that's how they were always going to end. Trying to control how people see you, or how situations wrap up, just drains you. Letting things unfold without interfering doesn't mean you're passive. It means you're done forcing outcomes. And that's where real control shows up, not in managing people, but in managing yourself, staying steady while everything else moves however it wants. That's what most people can't do. And that's why it stands out when someone finally does it.